Hi, Christie.
Hi, Jeff.
We're recording now.
The many hours of conversation you and I have had, we've had probably half of them that haven't been recorded.
You know what we should do? We should start a podcast.
You think? Let's call it The Why and the Buy.
All right.
Welcome, everyone, to the Why and the Buy podcast. My name is Christie Walters, and I am here with Jeff Bajorek. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, Christie. How are you today?
I'm doing great. We have a wonderful guest with us today, Kristina Evans. Hi, Kristina.
Hi.
Jeff is going to give a little bit of a background about how he and Kristina met, but we're going to talk a lot about expanding your reach and building a trusted network. So, Jeff, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about how you and Kristina met?
Kristina and I met on a Blab, if anybody remembers that platform. We were just talking before the show. It was a great idea with stupid technology. So it didn't quite work the way we wanted it to, but it was a great idea in terms of bringing people together from wherever in the world you wanted to be. And there's not a better example out there that I know anyway of using technology like Blab and other platforms to build a network and expand their reach than Kristina Evans. So, Kristina, I would like to welcome you to the podcast as well as Christie. And, what was it about social media platforms that inspired you to really go out there and try to reach more people? And not just the social media platforms, but why did you feel you needed to reach more people in the first place?
Well, I've always been a really social person, and I've always thought that I was very much present on social media, like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. I thought I was doing what I thought was enough, but it was really only tapping into people who were immediately around me or people I already knew, or, it really wasn't getting me anywhere, so to speak. So I started thinking about how I could kind of come out of the writing closet, so to speak, and take a risk and see what I could build. So I took a big interest in wanting to see how I could experiment with social media, if it would, help branch out and meet new people, different things like that.
So just one day you woke up and said, I need to know more people?
Yeah, I wanted to know more people. I've always wanted to have a diverse group of people in my network. And I'm that person who doesn't stay as a fly on the wall when I'm, at a networking event or at a party. I'm the one who will go and introduce myself to anyone and everyone and talk everybody's ear off, which is good and bad. But no, I wanted to penetrate deeper into what was out there and the potential of what was out there by getting to know more people quickly. And I felt that I could do that through writing and maybe relating to people or impacting people.
Did you do it primarily through LinkedIn, or did you have multiple channels that you were using?
Yeah, at first I really stuck to one channel or one medium. So I really tried to play around with LinkedIn. And then what I like to call my other social media presence is more like cross-pollination, so to speak. What could I do to see what's getting another return on that investment of time? So Twitter kind of came along. I'm not really a huge Facebook fan, which I know Jeff isn't either.
Facebook? What's Facebook?
I try to keep it pretty private, but I do, put out some cross-pollinated posts on there as well. But yeah, primarily LinkedIn has been probably the one tool that I feel that I've mastered, and that's where I'm getting the most reach.
I think it might be interesting to give our audience a little bit of a context of why we think your story is so fascinating. And can you talk a little bit about the timing of, kind of where you started with LinkedIn, and then over what period of time did you find that your voice, it took for your voice to really take root?
Yeah, well, I've been on LinkedIn for the past 5 years. I would say probably up until, let's just say it's been a year now since I started really putting myself out there and writing. And I would say at the beginning I had maybe about, a little over 2,000 connections, mostly local, maybe about, a couple hundred followers. And I've grown that significantly to over 10,000.
Wow, 10,000?
Yeah, 10,000. So over the last year, I've increased pretty significantly. It's all been organic. I haven't paid for it. It's really, some things have been hit and miss, and some things have really taken off, but it's just, kind of the way that it goes.
What kind of content do you think was the most successful for you to attract those followers? The interesting thing, I don't know if passionate is the right word. I certainly have opinions about social media, but there's a lot of people out there who feel like they can just blast whatever they want to say from the top of the highest mountain, and that's going to somehow attract people. And there are a few bullies out there who manage to do it. But I think there's something about the content that you produce that has really attracted an engaged followership, not just a bunch of people who click the thumbs up or, who click the button to follow you. I mean, I've seen you give 2-line status updates on LinkedIn that have 400 comments on it. I mean, that kind of thing is ridiculous. Who gets that kind of traffic other than you? I don't know anybody who does. I mean, even people with 100,000 followers will drop they'll drop a one-liner out there or something, and it gets a few likes. What was it about how you created your content that really engaged so many people?
Well, once again, I want to put it out there, that I don't have a magical formula, and there's a lot of stuff that I've posted that really got 0 engagement, 0 likes, that I was like, oh, darn, that was really good. Or I thought it was. And then, I think the content that's really worked for me is being willing to present an opinion that I know a lot of people share but are afraid to say. Maybe being slightly disruptive, but in a respectful way. I think it's about the way you say things. People can get up there and say a whole bunch of negative things, but unless you're willing to engage back and forth in a healthy debate with people from both sides, it's not going to get you anywhere. So I think just being authentic, being okay with understanding that not everyone is going to like what I have to say, and that's okay. We're not all going to agree. And really just trying to state what is really going on, specifically like in the recruiting and HR industries. That's really been my main bread and butter.
So you are not speaking to an echo chamber then. You're trying to give a voice to people who won't necessarily be interested in speaking up for themselves, but to whom that message will definitely resonate. Is that a fair restatement?
Right. And I know that it's going to, ruffle some feathers, and that's okay. I'm willing to, take what I dish out.
So how have you benefited then from this rapidly expanded network? When you and I met, it was on a blab. We were connected by a guy out of Colorado, a loudmouth out of Colorado named Jim Keenan. He wrote a book last year called Not Taught that I know resonated with me as well as you. And actually he put together a kind of a blab event that we were both honored to be a part of. It was really cool. But what do you think has been the best or the biggest, most significant outcome of your expanded network?
Oh, well, absolutely making my career switch from recruiting full-time to writing full-time in this space. I mean, to be honest with you, that's just proof right there that if you work hard towards a goal that you really enjoy. I mean, I've always enjoyed writing. Never, ever, if you would have asked me even a year ago, that I would be writing full time about topics that I love to write about already and getting paid for it, I would be like, yeah, okay. So absolutely, that's my biggest achievement is, making that career switch. And I think anyone can do that if they put in the effort.
Right. And you just recently made that career switch, right? I mean, the last few months.
I did. And it's going well. I mean, I'm telling you what, they're challenging me. I'm doing the full spectrum of content and things that I have never done before, like writing ebooks and, putting together webinars and, we're talking everything, videos. So it's definitely very challenging, but very rewarding. And it's just another platform to, put out the thoughts and ideas that I already have in my head. So there's a lot of creative freedom here, which I think is also very important.
Yeah, it's amazing. I read one of your pieces just a couple of days ago in preparation for this. And one of the phrases that stuck out to me was that you were a marketer stuck in a recruiter's body. And I thought, how many people feel that way and replace marketer and recruiter with whatever, right? So I'm a salesperson stuck in a technician's body, or a technician stuck in a salesperson's body, whatever you may want to throw in there. I thought that was just really raw and real, right? It was a great way to articulate a challenge that a lot of people have. And, there's that thing they get paid to do. And then there is that thing they love to do. And very few of us get an opportunity to merge the two together. So I think kudos to you for that. And I loved that phrase in the article. It really hit home for me.
Yeah, I had a few people get a little upset that I put it that way, as if, not everyone's happy doing what they're doing. But let's be real. We all have things that we love to do on the side that we're not getting paid for.
Heck yeah. And your journey is your journey, right? I mean,
absolutely.
So, get upset all you want.
Well, and I mean, if you want me to go a step further, I think recruiters are going to be replaced by marketers anyway within the next year or so. So.
Right. And the best recruiters I know are marketers, right? So.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The most significant point that I've taken from, watching, and even from where I am, watching your content and paying attention and reading it, is how attractive real is, how attractive vulnerability is, how attractive authenticity is. You start by writing about something as simple as song lyrics and what they mean to you, and how you are taken to this other place where you think of this other thing. And some people will say that some of that stuff is not appropriate for LinkedIn. Oh, that's personal. There's no lesson there. I don't want to see that. Keep that stuff on another channel. And then you get other people who, to your point, among the hundreds of comments that these posts will elicit, say, wow, you just put into words something that I've not been able to do for myself. Or I can totally relate that to something that is, appropriate for work. Or the lesson here is that we're in the person-to-person business, not the business-to-business business. And, there's so many different things that can be taken from it, but it all comes from a place where you were very raw and very willing to share that and, those feelings. And, I mean, how difficult was that for you to go to that place?
I think I wrote about a lot of personal things. I mean, I wrote about, driving all the way from Arkansas back to New Jersey after my mom passed, or was about to pass, not thinking I was going to see her again, and how that trip driving alone for 2 days was symbolic. And not everyone is willing to put that out there. But for me, it's also part of my healing process. So, being vulnerable and being able to share that story. There's other people going through something similar, or that have gone through something similar. And, sometimes it takes one person to put something out there to help provide comfort to someone else. But it also provided comfort to me to put it out there and publicly acknowledge how I was feeling about something. So I think that goes with anything that I write. I always stand behind everything I write 100%. 110%, whether or not it's controversial, whether or not people like it, whether they do like it. I'll always stand behind what I have to say and own it. So that's just part of, me finding myself too.
Yeah. So, Kristina, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of our listeners who are not natural writers, and they're looking for a way to expand their reach, whether it's on LinkedIn or otherwise. Do you have some advice for folks that are in that position?
I have a lot of advice, actually, but if I had to give some takeaways, don't overthink. I think it's important to find your distinct writing voice. What I found beneficial is a buddy of mine, Zach Messler, who was one of the first people that kind of got me into writing, wrote an article about how to find your authentic writing voice. And part of what I would do in the early days is I would have a very long commute to and from work, and I would record myself talking about what I wanted to write about. And then I would transcribe that as if I was saying it. So I think if I had to give a couple of bits of advice, one is don't overthink it. Write down exactly how you're feeling about a certain topic, or, sit there and just write everything. Don't be afraid to make grammatical errors or spelling errors, or it doesn't have to be perfect. The importance is that thought comes across, your main points come across. And I always tell people, when you're done, get ready to hit publish. Maybe read through it one time, but don't sit there and let it marinate overnight and then make changes to it. I mean, that works for some people, but I think that it's more important if you want to get a very authentic and raw message, just to write what you feel, make sure it makes sense, nothing alarming, boom, send it out. So,
Right. Yeah, well, and Jeff knows this, that is probably one of my biggest challenges with writing and publishing on a regular basis, is that I sit and marinate. I love to marinate on ideas. So I have a OneNote folder full of them, and they will sit and marinate for longer than one night, unfortunately. But I think there's a lot of people that probably suffer from that.
Well, you want it to be good, and sometimes the enemy of good is perfect. In the quest for perfection, we overlook what's right in front of us that's really, really good. And I've been through that with my writing. I've been through that with the videos. Christy, you and I have gone through that with the podcast. I mean, how many times did we start and stop this? The fact of the matter is, when you're willing to put yourself out there, when you're willing to create something that you know might not work, it's important to understand that it might absolutely thrill somebody. And there's a lot to be said about being willing to push publish. How many times do you see people mean to do something, want to do something, intend to do something, but they never get to the point where they actually press that blue button at the top of the screen or at the bottom of the screen, whatever it is. And there's a lot to be said about being the one who's willing to do that, the one who's got enough guts to go ahead and do that. And that was the thing. We get it in our mind that these people who have been doing it forever, the famous authors, the really profound publishers of material, that they're just good at it. We want to know how they're good at it? They press send. They press publish. They press it a lot. A lot of times they do it every single day for multiple hours a day. And you have to start somewhere. And because I'm not good at it right now is not a reason to not start. And that's something that, it's, get out of your own way, right? And Kristina, you did an amazing job of just saying, you know what, here's this platform. I'm gonna put it out there. I know that this is not going to make everybody happy, but I know it's going to make some people really, really happy. And ultimately, those are the only people I'm interested in having follow me anyway. So you've clearly taken that notion, which is counterintuitive to some, and built it into something that has been tremendously beneficial to you. Not only have you found the opportunity to do what you really, really want to do, and you get to make a career out of it now, but now you get to use those same tools to do what you really, really want to do. I mean, it's like the American dream. Christy, we just got the American dream on our podcast. How lucky are we?
That's right. Chris, that's our tagline right there. Kristina Evans.
The American dream.
American dream.
Oh, no pressure or anything.
The podcast just titled itself.
There we go. I love it when that happens.
Oh, geez.
So, Kristina, tell us what should your followers expect next from you? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, that's always a surprise because who knows what I'm thinking of. I haven't pushed as much content out from myself on LinkedIn as much as I have elevating others. And obviously, going from writing on the side to writing full time, I do have commitments to, do a lot of writing here. And there's a lot of great stuff that I do share with the world. But I do have a story that I will be telling that's very personal, but that will be coming out probably within the next month or two.
Oh, okay.
So very personal story that I think, it could be very interesting, very controversial, to say the least, but it's probably going to be my most vulnerable piece yet.
Okay, wonderful. Wow.
That is a teaser right there.
Yeah,
that is, yes, to be continued. So, Kristina,
absolutely.
I want to ask you what we ask all of our guests here on The Why and the Buy, and I think that you have probably gotten to these, or to an answer to this question in multiple roundabout ways so far, but what's your why? Why do you do what you do?
Besides loving what I do, I get a great sense of fulfillment in sharing with other people, sharing content specifically with other people. So it's not only personally rewarding and satisfying to me, but it's very challenging, which I always love a good challenge. I don't want to sit and twiddle my thumbs. And it's pushing me to learn things that I didn't think that I would know how to do. So I think, my why is I love what I do. And I love sharing with other people and at least impacting one person each time I write something and push something out. So that's my why.
I love it.
That's fantastic. There's so many different things there, Kristina. We could keep this going for a long time, but we've got a very strict time deadline here.
Yes. No, we're not very strict at all.
Yeah, that sounded real serious there, Jeff.
Yes. Very, 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 very serious. No, Kristina, I really appreciate you being here with us. You've got so many good things to share, and thank you for coming and giving us kind of a sneak peek into what's next for you and sharing what makes you tick, because it is going to reach somebody that it has not reached before. And every day you reach out and you inspire people in ways they haven't been inspired before. Christie and I thank you, and we appreciate you for coming on. And all of your followers, thank you for doing what you do every day.
Yeah, and Kristina, if any of our listeners are not currently followers of yours, any tips on how they find you on LinkedIn or otherwise?
Well, you can definitely connect with me. It's Kristina Evans. If you search me, my search analytics are pretty good, so I should be one of the first people, if not the first one to pop up with that name. Not to toot my own horn. That sounded really...
Toot away.
It's all good. We welcome that here. It's good.
But what I urge people to do is don't follow me. Reach out and connect with me. I like to connect with people, and the more the merrier, and, let's add some value to one another.
Excellent. Well, I want to echo what Jeff said. Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing your much anticipated personal story here in the next month or so. I'm quite anxious to read that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And remember, when you understand your why, your hows and your whats get a lot better.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Why and the Buy podcast. If you liked us, subscribe. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and really anywhere else you can get a podcast. And if you really liked us, then give us a 5-star review. We like those, and we like you too. Here at the Why and the Buy podcast, we've got our own house band. Christie and I think they're absolutely perfect for what we're trying to do with this podcast, and we hope you think so too. If you like them as much as we do, then you should check them out. They're called Haskins, and they're based in southeastern Michigan. You can find their music and more at haskinsmusic.com. Go check them out.